Hi, I'm Mike Brodsky, President of Monterey Computer Solutions. Today I'm delighted to have Christine Hawthorne here. She's in charge of our Avaya practice and does a phenomenal job. And as you might expect with the recent COVID issues facing the community and the country, a lot of organizations are looking at their phone system and trying to evaluate if it makes sense to upgrade or continue with on-prem systems or go to a cloud offering. And luckily, Avaya has combined with RingCentral to produce really a nice product mix for the cloud solution. And of course, they're industry leading with their Avaya on-prem solution. And Christina's been involved with both. So Christina, when a company wants to consider a cloud-based system, what are some of the parameters they need to look at?
I think first you have to look at what you currently have. So if you currently are coming off of an on-premise system and your on-premise system is older, usually you have older wire in the building, and that's one of the key things that's going to cost a little bit more if we have to change out wire. So a couple of things with that is if you have an older system and you've got digital phones, you most likely are going to need to rewire some spaces that are going to have phones, because the phones for a hosted solution are either SIP or IP, and those phones only run on Cat5 and better.
Good point. And there's a lot of acronyms in the computer business, and there's a lot of acronyms in the telephony business. So the point is we need to evaluate their wiring scheme to allow them to know better if they can accommodate a hosted solution, which, by the way, would be for internal employees as well as their remote users, or if they need to consider a on-prem solution, and wiring is a big factor. What are some of the other things that they need to look at? For example, internet speed obviously is a concern.
Yes, definitely. So generally, we do a survey, to a network assessment to see what your network looks like and to see where there's some areas that might cause some problems. If your internet speed is slower, the problems you'll incur is going to be jitter, probably dropped calls or echoey calls. Maybe you don't get the call, or the caller hears a busy signal when they call in. Those are some things that will happen with a slower speed internet.
Yeah, and we need to evaluate that as well. Some of the other things, your hosted system currently, even with the addition of RingCentral, and this is any hosted system, do not offer the features that maybe you're traditionally used to getting. So there are some things that you need to consider. And really, when you work with us, we go through a detailed plan with you so that you know what you're going to get from a hosted system. You'll know what's on the drawing board for the hosted Avaya system. And again, that may dictate what direction you go as far as hosted versus on-prem.
Yes.
The other thing that needs to be considered is your switching environment. And PoE, Power over Ethernet, is an important factor, correct?
For sure. So Power over Ethernet is what delivers the power to power the phone in an IP environment, IP phone environment. So if you don't have PoE switches, we would then have to include what's called a power brick or a power adapter to power the phone. The other thing with your switching is going to be what your switch can handle as far as speed. So if you have an older switch that's 10100, you're not going to be able to get the appropriate speed out of the phone. And if you're connecting that phone then to the PC, your PC won't be able to get that speed either.
Yeah, good point. So many of our clients do have PoE switches because they're already powering access points and cameras and those sorts of things. So the phone solution would be just another thing to consider. And again, even if you don't have PoE, we can add the adapters to power those phones, but it's a cleaner install if we can use PoE switches, so it's something to consider. Talk about DID, direct inward dial, and how hosted and on-prem work with those technologies.
Sure. So typically when you change over a phone system, regardless of whether it's an on-premise system or a hosted system, if you're changing carriers, we have to do what's called porting numbers. And that means that any phone number that comes into your building Whether it's a DID, a direct inward dial, or a main number, those numbers have to be moved over onto your new service so that they can be used and routed through your new phone system. So what will happen is when you decide on a new solution, somebody will ask you, what phone numbers do you have that you need to include with this solution? DIDs usually come with a hosted solution. That there's a price per unit that'll come with that phone generally.
Yeah.
But that can be ported over from your old solution.
Yeah. So the point is you, if you call Entree 815-399-5664 McChesney Park, and you'll get an operator, and you can be transferred to 231, my extension, or you can call 815-847-3131 and get directly to me because we've installed the ID numbers. The same thing helps in your organization too. So if you want to get around the receptionist and have people take calls directly, you can certainly do that. The other thing that's invaluable, I think, and we use it quite a bit here, and our client base does too, is the use of mobile phone technology with both cloud-based and on-prem solutions. Would you address that a little bit?
Sure. So the mobile piece of an on-premise solution or a hosted solution with Avaya, you can do either on-premise or hosted and get the mobile features. So kind of what that means is one device for your calls. Your calls can be answered over any device, basically. So if you use a tablet, if you use your cell phone, your PC, your desk phone, that call can ring all of those devices at the same time for both on-premise and hosted, and you can transfer those calls out. So when you're considering on-premise or hosted solution, you want to think about who would need these features, and that's going to determine on-premise what user licensing you need, as well as for hosted what user licensing you need for that feature.
Yeah. So the point is, and Christina's been kind enough to set up my office, so I answer all the incoming calls on my tablet, and then when I leave the building, they go to my cell phone. Mm-hmm. So I have instantaneous call opportunities wherever I am, and it proves to be invaluable.
There's another point to that too. With that feature, the business then controls or has ownership then of the DID. So if you have turnover and you have an employee that leaves, it's not a customer calling their cell phone number. It's a customer calling into the business that forwards onto the cell phone number. So whoever we give that DID to following that person would still be able to, have that same flexibility.
Great point. So I think in conclusion, I think you need to understand and articulate what your goals are with whatever phone system you go with. So what do you want to get to? What does the future look like to you? Are your users, are they remote typically, or are they a combination of both? What features do you need? And then we sit down with you and really help you plan an ROI on both experiences, both cloud-based and on-prem, and help you make the right decision for your business going forward. Because let's face it, phone systems typically last a number of years, and we believe Avaya is the best solution regardless of what option you go with, and especially the cloud solution now with RingCentral has really helped accent that whole program. So we do an ROI with you. Christina sits down. Every Avaya installation we've had has gone really, really well since she's been here, and she's done a phenomenal job. And she just does a great job technically, and after the sale, she's there for you. So I can't speak highly enough about her expertise and what she's brought to Entree. And we'll bring that same opportunity to you, and we strongly appreciate it and hope we can chat about Avaya in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you.